We're here with Andrew Gaus for our Week 4 NFL Bets of the Week segment. Andrew, thank you for joining us.
Of course, boys. Happy to do it. Having a lot of fun with this segment.
So, Andrew, last week you had a pretty good week. You gave us a 3-team parlay with Tennessee, Detroit, and the Rams, and all three of those bets passed. So, how are you feeling going into this week?
I'm feeling pretty good, actually. Obviously, feeling good because last week I wasn't super confident, but the ones that I ended up going with did well for me, and we all made some money off it. But this week I'm looking at the board and feeling a little bit better. I see some games I really like, and yeah, I'm excited to share them with you guys.
Do you worry that when you feel sometimes so good about certain bets that it's like last week you said, I'm not confident at all, boys. You said you're not confident at all, but then you hit your main ones. Does that worry you for this week?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's like almost in like the gambling world, people always talk about how like you almost like something too much, that like you love it so much that it's almost like you have to bet against it because it just like somehow it's got to go wrong. But I've been doing pretty well lately, so I'm going to keep riding it out, and I'm sure I will run into one of those weeks where I feel really good and things all come crashing down, but I'm going to keep going with my gut until that happens.
Yeah, so last week you gave us your top 3 bets, and those all worked. Do you have another top 3 going into this week?
I do. I actually just up it a notch, I guess. Here, I'll give you 4.
Here we go.
So the first one I like, and I went with this last week too, is I like the Detroit Lions. If Justin Tucker wasn't the best kicker in the NFL, that would have been a money line win for us last week. But luckily, we took the spread. Lions +3 versus Chicago. Chicago has no idea who's playing quarterback. Even if they do, their offensive line looks terrible. Matt Nagy, I'm living out here in Chicago, so I hear all the heat on Matt Nagy day in, day out. The offensive play calling's been bad. I'm going to take the Lions. They're a better team than 0-3. My second bet, this one is probably the one I feel the least confident in, but I'm going to go Colts on the money line versus Miami. I think Carson Wentz is playing better than people think. I think they gave Tennessee a good run for a lot of the game on Sunday. I think they're better than an 0-3 team too, just like the Lions. And I think Miami with a backup quarterback isn't going to win that game. Number 3, people might not like this one because they've lost a lot of people money lately, but I like the Chiefs -6 versus the Eagles. Eagles looked ugly last night. That offense, the defense didn't look much better. This one's just going with logic maybe, but I just can't see the Chiefs having 3 bad weeks in a row. Their defense scares me, but I could see Mahomes busting out for 5 touchdowns in this game. I just think they're in last place in that division, which is insane to think about. But just too good, too talented of a team to lose another game. And I think 6 points is a reasonable spread for them to cover. And then finally, I think far and away the game of the week is Tampa Bay versus New England, Brady's return. I'm taking Brady this week, -6.5 in Foxborough. I think he is going to be beyond motivated to win that game. And we all know how good he is when he's motivated. So I'm taking Tom in the Bucks.
So last week on Thursday Night Football, you mentioned the over on the match, on the game. It was a 43-point over-under, which I thought was a great bet to take the over on, but it just went under because Christian McCaffrey got hurt early. Are you thinking anything for this Thursday Night Football game?
I'd have to look. What exactly is the over-under on this
46.
game? 46. Okay.
It seems a little high.
I don't know. I know the Bengals will score. I don't know if the Jaguars will.
Yeah.
46.5. I would say that it's going to be. I'm going to go over. You know what? I'm not gonna bet it, to be honest with you guys. But for the fun of the picks, I'm going to take the over because I think Trevor Lawrence is due for a good game. I think he throws a couple touchdowns, and that leads into one of the prop bets that I like this week, which is Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 touchdown passes. That's at +130. I'm going to put a little faith in Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sure they win that game, but I could see him having a nice night.
I mean, what's his touchdown total for the year? Like, it has to be pretty low.
Yeah,
it's low, and he's got a good amount of picks. Obviously, he doesn't get a lot of help on that team, but I think he's due for a good night. I think that'll be a fun matchup. despite two maybe below average teams, even though the Bengals, we probably don't want to talk about it on this show, but had a nice week on Sunday. But I think Trevor Lawrence is better than he's shown so far, and he might have a good night.
What are your thoughts on these three? You got the Titans are the 7.5-point favorites against the Jets this week. And then you got the Rams coming off a big win. They're prone to a letdown though after big wins though. They're 5-point favorites at home against the Cardinals. And then the Steelers going to Green Bay, 6.5 points for the Packers are the favorites. So I really like the Steelers this week because I think that this week that they're going to catch the Packers off guard and they're going to win a game that people don't think they're going to win at all. And I think the odds are going to be pretty darn good for that.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but the money line for the Steelers has to be really juicy after the past 2 weeks and Green Bay going into San Fran on
plus 250
Sunday night. Yeah, so you're putting a lot of faith in your team. I love it. Obviously, I'm a biased fan. That's a tough one. That's probably the one I would stay away from if we're being honest. But I love it. I think going back to your other two, I like the Titans 7.5. The Jets are, I mean, they are bad. Zach Wilson looks bad. And then would you say Arizona 5.5 versus the Rams? Not sure I would touch it, but if I were to, I probably would take Arizona with the points just because I thought Arizona had a sloppy first half. We all saw the missed field goal return for a touchdown. They're losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars at half. Kind of a wake-up call, and they turned it around a little bit, but I would think that they go into that game a little more pumped up and at least keep it close. They might win that game, honestly. But yeah, the Steelers, man, I am afraid to touch that team for the rest of the year, I think. I mean,
they're unpredictable. They're unpredictable.
One game I'm looking at here is Minnesota and Cleveland. Minnesota's a 2-point underdog in that game.
That's a good one.
I like Minnesota. Kirk Cousins has thrown 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, almost 1,000 yards. They've only lost by a couple points each of their losses. They're 1-2, but had a big win last week at Seattle. So I could see them making a run at this game and getting a win, especially at home.
I agree. I was looking at that game earlier. 2.5 is a tough spread because you're probably just betting on them to win for the most part. But yeah, I mean, without Dalvin Cook, you would think they would take a step back, but last week they didn't miss a beat. I think they looked really good at versus Seattle, and I think that's gonna be a really good football game either way. I think taking the Vikings on the money line obviously has some good value, so I don't think that's a bad play at all.
Yeah, it says that's plus 110, so you probably get as much as you get in if it's right. So I think that's an okay bet. I mean, you don't have to bet that much on it, but I mean, Minnesota's they've looked good even though they've lost 2 games.
Yeah, sprinkle in a little action on it. Maybe take it by itself. Keep it out of a parlay if you're not super confident in it. But I never root for Cleveland, so it's always fun to bet for the team who's playing for them.
This is a big Monday nighter this week. You got the divisional match between Vegas and the Chargers. So 2 teams that you wouldn't think would be near the top of the division or above the Chiefs at both at the same time are currently. Thoughts on that game? Because the Chargers, Justin Herbert's been playing some pretty good football.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers look like a team that can make a run this year. I think the Raiders have kind of surprised some people. I lean towards the Chargers in that one. I think they're really strong. I think Herbert's kind of breaking out finally. I think we all saw that coming a little bit, especially last year with a great rookie campaign. I think the Raiders are good, but I don't know if they're as good as a 3-0 record behind them looks. I think Miami pushed them to the brink on Sunday, so I could maybe see the Raiders taking a step back here. And I mean, the Chargers look really strong. I mean, outside of a little couple of mistakes against Dallas, they could be 3-0 as well.
Any prop bets for this week you're thinking of? Because you had the McCaffrey one last week, but then he got hurt.
Yeah, so I took that one, and that one died in the first quarter when he left the game with injury. So just kind of some bad luck there. Nothing you can do about that. But like I said earlier, I like the Trevor Lawrence one. and maybe the Pittsburgh bias creeping in again. I could see Ben having a good game. I might be taking the over in passing yards for him. I think sometimes Ben seems to be better on the road. I might put a little money on Ben to have a good game.
What
I
is
might
your
regret
over
this,
on the
but
pass?
we'll see. I would have to look. I would guess his over under is usually around 250. Last year was a little bit higher, but I think this year, obviously with the start he's had, it's kind of trickled down. But I'd have to look at it specifically, but I would guess around 245, 250, and I
Yeah,
might take.
And he had
I
over
might take the
300
over.
yards last week.
yeah. I mean, he did throw it almost 60 times, but I mean, he threw for
Yeah.
300 yards. But I wouldn't take a touchdown on him because I think they'll try to establish the run a lot against Green Bay because they haven't been able to do that. I think Green Bay, or actually, correct me there. Green Bay doesn't have a good pass defense. They have a better run defense. I get them mixed up sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Their secondary is not that great.
So yeah, take the touchdowns on Ben maybe even too.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of times, like it's a Tuesday, obviously right now, the prop bets for the Sunday games don't come out right away, but I think that's a prop bet to keep your eye on when those lines do come out, to see what they have been at. Usually they're around that 250 mark, but we'll see. And unless it's unusually high, I think I might take the over there.
Lots of things to work with this week you gave us. We appreciate your time as always, and good luck this week.
Of course, thanks, boys. Hope anyone who's tailing is happy with my picks so far, and hopefully we can keep it up.
Yep. Remember to check this out every week. It's up probably every Tuesday from now on. So I feel like that's a good idea to do it early in the week. So it's a lot of time for people to look at it and
Better odds. Yeah, better odds too.
Our podcast comes out every Wednesday or Thursday. So make sure to check that out. It's been going good. We've got a lot to talk about this. We've got 1 win and 1 loss. Steelers loss and Pitt win. So some good stuff to talk about and some bad stuff to talk about. So make sure to check that out. Andrew, thanks to everyone coming on, and looking forward to next week.
Absolutely, boys. Thanks for having me.